I guess it's time to say good day, everybody, and welcome to another episode of where are we? We are at Off the Cuff. I think if you let me just quickly check if the stream is going live. It should be going live. Just want to double check there. Apologies for that. Using a couple of new softwares to double check. Yeah, if we able to do this live like this, let me just go and see. That should go right there. There we go. That's live on that side. Let's check here at ExCAP. It doesn't seem to be streaming live on that side. Why are we not ready? Are we streaming live on YouTube? Should be. Yes. Okay. Looks like we're live on YouTube. YouTube's 100% fine. That's amazing to know. So, hello YouTube. It's great to be in a moment. I'm going to explain exactly what Off the Cuff is. It's completely brand new for you guys. So, thank you so much for being here. Off the Cuff is a segment presented by ExCAP, presented by me each week, where we answer the questions to entrepreneurs, the questions that they face in life, the questions that they have around their business regarding, sales processes, or all that type of stuff. So I just want to quickly just jump straight onto here. I'm just going to make double sure we're good to go there. On that side, seems to be good to go. There we go. Let's see. Why is that stream not live? We're just waiting for one stream to go live. Seems to have a couple of difficulties. Okay. There we go. So we've got a couple of difficulties on some of the channels. Apologies about that. We'll go on the other one, streaming. It says streaming, so I'm just going to go, let's say, view on Instagram. Are we good? Mm-hmm. There we go. Apologies about that. We need to double check the stream is live and everything is good to go. Save the information right over there. It seems to be fine. It seems to be working here. We just want to check notifications on this end. Yep, that sounds good. Looks all good on that side. Okay, create and say live video. Add live video, add a title. Oh, I understand what went wrong. Apologies. Gonna go there now and say off the cuff, and it obviously needs to go to the public. It was on a segment. There you go. I'm gonna stream URL and stream key. I'm gonna just get the stream key right over there. I'm gonna say edit. Gonna post that stream key and say save. No thanks. Sending the data through. Sending data through. And I think we're live now, finally. There we go. That should be 100% fine, 100% good. Apologies. I think so many people would have gotten so frustrated at this moment with all this technology and all the stuff there. So apologies about that. Everything should be good. I'm going to do one last check. It's 5 minutes in. You don't need to worry too much about that. And I'm going to go ahead and say Exemplo Capital. They should be live at this moment. Okay, we'll sort that out later. In the moment, going to jump over to TikTok. So what is Off the Cuff? Off the Cuff is a segment. Very lastly, going to say that. I'm going to go here and say live and just put this, go live. Yep, got it. Then we should be good to go. Okay, so Off the Cuff is a segment that we do live every single Friday. It has never been this messy. I'm using new streaming software to restream, well, kind of like using Restream for the first time to get that into a couple of sequences and places to get live to everybody. I guess I also call the segment Flamingo Fridays because it's on a Friday. It's going to be live every single Friday. This is week 5 or 6. Talking to the entrepreneur, talking to the founder. What are we talking about? We have got various forms that we send out for the entrepreneur, for the founder to send and submit your questions. Questions regarding what? Questions on business, questions on your company culture, sales. As a consultant, we want to give back. And we want to see if we can just off the cuff in the moment, read the questions for the first time that you submitted from Instagram, from TikTok, from LinkedIn. Obviously, we're going to the YouTube channels now as well. And our heart is to give back. Our heart is in that moment to go ahead and answer your questions. Questions regarding your business. Some words of wisdom and nuggets, things that as a consultant that I see my clients deal with, and the success they gathered by overcoming these obstacles. These are the type of advice that's out there for free. You can check out our social media. We're not major influencers with a lot of followers or whatever. As a matter of fact, if you wanted that 30-second hook sensation feeling, this video already would have frustrated you. We're here to share knowledge, in-depth knowledge, and bring that to you. And we do about 12 questions that I answer in this space. Going to read them out loud for the first time and give you my off-the-cuff moment. If you're an entrepreneur, why don't you follow our channels? Why don't you stick around in the journey? It's absolutely for free. This is how we can just, get the word out there to entrepreneurs, to business founders, to startups. And some of the advice might be applicable to you and some of them not at all. But if you find this valuable, save it for later. Or maybe you know of a fellow entrepreneur that's struggling with these type of questions. Why don't you just share the wisdom with them and keep them on? We do 2 segments completely for free, completely live. One is wisdom every Tuesday, 5:30 in the mornings. It's a bit more condensed network than this. It's not live on every single platform, and it's a connected group of entrepreneurs. You need to sign up for that one, although it is free, but we just see major breakthrough. 30 minutes of your time. If you've seen some of that content and want to be part of it, just write us a DM and say, Dion, send me the link. It's absolutely for free. We'd love for you to join in that. The second live segment that we do is this every Friday, 10 a.m. off the cuff. The content might be sent later. It depends on a couple of things, but for us, it is literally in this moment to read your questions for the first time and answer them off the cuff, meaning there might be a better answer that we can give or that I can give. I'm saying we the whole time, it's me. But obviously, I've got a team behind me, not here in the studio. This is just my setup, but in the company. And there might be better advice. And if there's better advice, we'll reach out to you later if there's anything. So please keep those questions coming. It's in our links in the bios to submit them, or just write them in the comment. The questions you have regarding your business, company culture, or sales processes. So let's jump straight into it. The first question that I have in front of me is, how do I know if someone on my team has leadership potential? This is a great question. This question came from TikTok, and this question says, yeah, how do I know? Let me just think about it for a moment. If someone on my team has leadership potential. I think one mistake that founders make is thinking leadership potential shows up in confidence. We expect a leader on paper to be this overly confident person, and it usually actually doesn't. Confidence is loud, leadership is responsible. Okay, so they don't have the same noise. They can, but the one isn't equal to the other, right? So what you want to look for is someone who naturally takes ownership, of problems before they are asked to take ownership on that. That's leadership, right? So yeah, they don't wait to be told what's wrong. They notice friction, they care about outcomes, and they think beyond their job description. A future leader doesn't just execute tasks; they start asking better questions. They ask things like, "Why are we doing things this way?" or "Would it help if we tried, for example, this instead?" Giving other solutions. A very solutional thinking, right? The key is to test for that potential. Give them the responsibility slightly beyond their role, not a title, but responsibility. Let them make a decision that has consequences. Let them own a small project where other people would, rely on them. That will be a hefty tip to do. As some people grow under that pressure, others retreat back into task mode. And that would be your signal, right? Leadership potential reveals itself when responsibility appears. That's when it shows itself the best. And remember this, that leaders aren't created by promotions. They're revealed by ownership. That's the best off-the-cuff answer for that question. Let's move on to the next question. Next question I got in front of me. This question came from LinkedIn. What do I do when a great employee loses motivation? What do I do when a great employee loses motivation? So what I'm going to do is I'm just, going to put this screen right over here. TikTok, you guys are always difficult with where I place my screen. I don't want you guys to feel that I'm never looking at you and always just looking, at the camera up there. So when that angle is there, sometimes I get confused and I apologize. So let's see if we can balance that thing out. I think we've got... No, that's not going to work. I don't want to drop you guys and frustrate you guys. There we go. I think that will work just fine. Keep it there. What do I do when a great employee loses motivation? When a strong employee suddenly loses energy, most leaders assume the person has changed, but often the environment has changed. That's why we're so big on company cultures and establishing that company culture, right? So people rarely lose motivation overnight. Usually they lose clarity. I would say they lose progress, or they even lose meaning. Think about it. The early days of a role, usually that's very, very, very exciting. There's learning, there's growth, there's visible progress. But after a while, if someone feels stuck doing the same thing without development, motivation fades. So instead of asking, why are they lazy now? Ask a different question. Has a challenge level disappeared? Sometimes the solution isn't discipline, it's expansion, actually. Give them new responsibilities, expose them to bigger decisions, let them see the impact of their work more clearly. People stay motivated when they feel they are growing. Stagnation kills the motivation far more often than workload does. And the growth you would see fuels the energy. This is Off the Cuff if you just joined here. Off the Cuff is a segment where live, so sorry if we're going to repeat it after every 3 questions. I break my kind of rule now on Flamingo Fridays. And live in this moment, we're answering your business questions that you submitted. For the first time, I'm reading these questions, and off the cuff, meaning in the moment, I'll give my best advice as a business consultant that I would give to clients. Sometimes, obviously, with clients, you've got more time to think about these things. Our answer would naturally be more clearer, more in detail, and more instructive with more task-oriented. Okay, but in the moment off the cuff, we want to give access to entrepreneurs and founders to take this valid information and to use it to, whatever they feel they can use it for. It might be for you, or it might be for a friend. If you know someone that owns their own company, starting out their venture, or just got a passion for entrepreneurship, we believe entrepreneurs have got a calling in their life, and we want to speak into that calling. We want to see them succeed beyond their product line in success, because these are the people that creates jobs, opportunities, the economical stances. So if you're here just sitting back, best way to support us is to like, to comment, to share the usual things. I'm not an influencer. Not gonna ever give you fluff and hooks for the likes and follows. Never. It's all about the content. So if you don't relate to the content, or you don't find it valuable, then don't share. It's not a problem. But if you think someone can share, gain from this, we ask that you do share. So that is off the cuff. This is the segment. 12 questions. It used to be 20. Then I started babbling a lot. I answered 20 of them on social media afterwards on smaller snippets that you can also use as a workbook in these conversations. It's mostly regarding company culture, sales. Sales is my expertise. I work with a lot of sales teams. And then obviously with process development. We use a lot of processes in the company with our clients. So those are the 3 segments to, and of course, faith. I think faith has got shown every week, and we've even made a segment from that. A massive impact in the workplace, a curiosity and interest. So if you've got questions regarding those elements in a business, more than welcome to comment. We'll see if there's time afterwards and answer them. But the best way is to look in our bios for that link, free link. Submit your questions, and the week after we tend to just go through that, which is these questions that I see here for the first time. So 3rd question, this question came from, let me see where this question came from. I think it was Instagram. How do I know if my company culture is actually healthy? This is a very, very good question. It's one of those things that it almost sounds, too basic to be answered. And yet this is the crux. This is the most important, valuable point for any business owner, entrepreneur, to be very actually mindful about this, but also concerned about this, because this is what establishes an infinite company at the end of the day. So most founders believe their culture is healthy because everyone seems to be friendly. But friendliness isn't culture. Friendliness is an atmosphere. I would say that healthy culture shows up in behaviors, and especially it shows up in behaviors when behaviors are under pressure, right? So you can definitely ask yourself a couple of uncomfortable questions. When mistakes happen, do people hide them or surface them quickly? That's a question that honestly, you should be asking and answering that. When someone challenges an idea, does the room shut down or does it open up? That reveals company culture. When results slip, we didn't meet that KPI, we didn't meet that result, does accountability happen, or do excuses grow? Because that also shows company culture, right? So culture reveals itself when the things at the end of the day go wrong. That's when culture reveals itself. Anyone can look aligned when everything is going well. Real culture appears when tension enters the system. If your team can challenge ideas respectfully, I would say, and admit mistakes quickly and still move forward together, like towards the same vision, you're probably building something strong in terms of culture. Healthy culture isn't about comfort. It's about trust under pressure. Okay, that's your off-the-cuff answer for that. The next one is, this came from LinkedIn. How do I build trust with a new client quickly? I'd categorize this answer more in sales. I think it's relevant to processes because there is a funnel system of building that rapport and trust from your processes and your brand association. And does the client resonate with the brand? So I'd say there's a process element to it. But generally speaking, this for me is the sales and the sales strategy, because salespeople no longer exist. It's client servitude, right? It's really that relational. You'll see major corporations as well. They really revoke and remove the terminology around sales. We now call it customer relations and customer. But at the end of the day, if you walk into a hotel lobby, if you walk into any company and you're dealing with someone that's customer success, customer relationship, those type of things, you're most probably working with someone that is selling you either the solution or the product or the service. So I'll answer this from a sales point of view. So yeah, trust is usually, I would say, slower than what we would like it to be, but there's a good reason for that. Um, Apart from the good reason, I'll actually give you a cheat code. There's definitely a shortcut most people overlook, and the shortcut is competence, right? So when someone first speaks to you as a potential client, they're trying to answer one question in their mind. They're trying to answer, does this person, meaning you, actually understand my problem? That is the crux, the competence of this entire relationship. That's the shortcut if you wanted that. The fastest way to build trust isn't about, talking about yourself or your product or your service. It's diagnosing their situation better than what they expected. That's the fastest way to build that trust. So I would say ask deeper questions, clarify their pain in language that makes them, feel understood. When someone says, "Yes, that's exactly what we're dealing with," that's where trust starts to form and to build. It starts forming actually immediately on that spot, because trust is born when people feel seen and understood, right? So and here's the irony: the less you try to impress someone, the more credible you become. So don't try to impress with all your figures and sales and stats. Uh, be relevant, understanding. The understanding factor. That's what that builds trust faster than persuasion ever will. So I hope that answers your question. The fifth question: welcome to Off the Cuff, answering your business related questions regarding sales process and everything. If you're new here, you'd notice we're doing a couple of changes. I'm using a software to multiple stream to channels, so it's just easier setup for me. And later on, I want to obviously do with better qualities and things like that. But there might be off and glitches on some channels than if you an experienced viewer. So we'll figure that out along the way. No, an advance apologies for that. For us, it's never been about the fluff and the hooks and the visions, or not the vision. Always about the visions, about the visuals, always about the clarity of the content. So if you're here worried about how cool something looks, what hook you'll get, what 30-second wisdom you'll get, most probably you can just scroll on. This is not the space for me. But if you're here with a calling in your life in entrepreneurship, starting businesses, and these are the challenges that, regardless if you're following a quick rich scheme or trying to sell something or looking for a job, these are the challenges that real entrepreneurs and company founders sit with. These are the challenges as a business consultant that I'm faced to overcome. That's my task to overcome that. So I'm bringing that here for you freely to use. 12 questions, answer them in the moment, in the spot, off the cuff. If you want to submit yours, links are in our bio, so you can comment, you can reach out to us, and we'll take it from there. If you don't know what this is, ask, and I'll elaborate and expand more on that. So the next question I received was from TikTok. What's the biggest mistake founders make in early sales? Most founders talk too much. That's basically it. They're excited about the product. They're excited about the features. They're excited about the vision, right? So they start explaining everything immediately, and it's just a complete overwhelm. But early sales isn't about explanation. It's about discovery. The mistake is assuming you already know the customer's biggest problem. Kind of links up with the previous one, where the relationship, the relational element, understanding their biggest problem and need should be the key focus, right? If you skip the discovery part, you end up pitching solutions that doesn't match the real pain. So instead, slow down the conversation. I'm not only talking about the verbal conversation. Conversation is your media campaigns, everything that you put out there. Like, just slow it down and address the cohort on the discovery journey. you might get way less followers. If your engagement strategy is just to get as many followers as you'd like, then I mean, go for that. It's great. You're just gonna sit with a very small percentage of conversion ratio at the end of the day. But if you want to go for quality, don't worry about that noise. Don't worry about that fluff. Sequence the conversation so that you get more organic and intended to buy customers. Interest is an intent. We've said it so many times. So you don't want everyone just showing interest. You want people being intentful to buy or to subscribe. So slow the conversation down. You can ask what's frustrating them right now. And I'm talking about a problem that you're trying to solve. You can ask what they've tried already, ask what failure looks like if nothing changes, like paint their picture in their minds. And when people explain their own pain, they become far more open to the solutions that you're about to offer in any case, because now the conversation feels relevant, right? So the founder who asks better questions will always outsell the founder who talks the most. Seen it everywhere. It's super relevant. Next question. On Off the Cuff, this is from LinkedIn. How do I know if my offer is actually strong? Also, sales question. A strong offer creates tension in the buyer, right? If people say things like, interesting, or I'll think about it, that's usually a sign the offer isn't sharp enough. Okay, it's human reaction. Think about yourself walking in that market, that analogy we always use, walking in that market, testing, showing interest into everything, but actually not going to buy anything, right? And the reason is it's not solving your problems. You have zero intent to buy, and the reaction is just not there. Okay, so strong offers trigger reaction. People either lean forward or they push back, but they rarely stay neutral. The reason is simple. A powerful offer solves a painful problem in a very, very, very clear way. If the value is vague, people delay decisions. So step back and ask, what specific pain does this solve? How quickly does it solve it? What measurable outcome does the buyer get? The clearer those answers become, the stronger, the offer becomes, because buyers move when problems feel urgent, and neutral reactions usually mean unclear value. Okay, I think that's the best answer. So let's look at the next question. Off the cuff, this one was also from LinkedIn. Why do small problems keep becoming big problems in my business? It's a scaling thing, right? When something is small, the complexity scales as the company scales. That noise or that sound becomes noise. Small problems grow when nobody owns up to them, when no one takes that ownership, right? Because it was so small, we just say, oh, just keep it there. No one takes that ownership in noticing, well, if this mole grows, who's going to notice it? Who's going to go to the doctor? Who's going to get, cut them out? So in many businesses, issues get, noticed when not resolved because everyone assumes someone else will handle them. It's 100% ownership issue. This creates a quiet pattern. Friction appears, people adapt around it, and eventually the friction is just normal. It's just part of the day. And that's a huge red flag in company processes and in company culture, right? Then months later, if it, explodes into something bigger, then we want to deal with it. So the solution is simple. The solution is ownership. Every recurring problem should have a clear owner responsible for solving it, but also solving it permanently, not temporarily patching it, right? Actually fixing the system that caused it. When ownership exists, problems shrink. When ownership is vague, problems will grow. Responsibility is the antidote to any recurring chaos, right? That's your antidote. Next question. 4 more questions to go. I'm going to answer them off the cuff. If you're new here, thank you. Welcome to join. This is answering your questions live in the moment. Questions regarding business culture, sales and processes, and even faith in the workplace. This is questions regarding or for the entrepreneur, the business owner, the startup, even the executive. The executives just, they want the consultant around the table speaking only to them. That's great. That's valid. We do it. We test it. We see the results. We bring those results here. Off the cuff is seeing your questions in the moment for the first time and giving the best, fast moving advice. And hopefully it's slightly a bit more applicable because it's coming from experience, knowledge, and kind of like opinion, and not forced pitch decks that run through ChatGPT and all those things. It's a relevant point of view. So you might find this knowledgeable. Thank you, like, share, do it. But if you know someone that has a business, they're going through stuff, it might not be this directly. Share this type of things with them. It will be absolutely great if you can, just share these types of wisdom for someone in the workplace. Or if you're in sales, if you're doing sales, a lot of our questions are regarding sales. Sales is my forte. It's what I train, what I teach, what I preach. At the end of the day, I work mostly with sales teams and obviously company cultures. And if you've got a very, very big problem or not, and you just always want to stay relevant, why not always or also reach out to me and see where we can help. We're there to make sure that the company, regardless of the situations today, it might even be good. We want to make sure that company exists tomorrow. And you'll see so many times, even now with times like wars, being irrelevant or, not obsolete isn't always just linked to your product, service, or offering. It might come out of your control overnight. We've seen it with so many companies. So why not build that fortress around that and get in touch with us? Right, so let's move on to the last 4 questions. How do I keep my team aligned as we grow? This was a question from Instagram. For me, this is also a culture, but this is also a process type of thing, ironically. Alignment isn't easy when the company is small. It's actually not that easy when it's small. It's just assumed to be easy. But it's still easier when it's small than obviously bigger. Everyone hears the same conversation when you're small. Everyone understands the direction. But now when your team grows, your information fragments. I think that's the best way to describe it. So people start working hard in slightly different directions. So it's not a willingness or ownership issue. They're working hard. Their directions is just slightly, different because of the misalignment. So the solution is definitely not more meetings. It's clearer meetings. It's clearer communication rhythms. Leaders must repeat the vision, repeat the priorities, and repeat the goals far more often than you would think. It might feel repetitive to you, but for your team, it creates stability. When the vision is repeated, clear, it's a mission to collectively work towards that. When people know what matters most right now, they make better decisions independently for the same cause, for the same mission. So alignment doesn't happen once. I would say if this is your question, be mindful because it needs to be reinforced constantly. Okay. It really needs to be reinforced constantly. So let's do that. The last 3 questions. How do I know if I'm focusing on the right things as a founder? It's a founder type of question. Uses the word founder directly. This was actually from Facebook. Founders often measure productivity by activity. They measure it by meetings, emails, messages, decisions. Those are the type of things that for founders, when you're in that founder's position, it has a facade because it makes you feel that that's progress. But the real question is, are you working on the few things that only you can do? Because we say it so many times. If there's anything, when it comes to company processes, if there's anything in your company that is repeated, it should be a process and it should be automated. On the same hand, I always say, or we always preach it at ExCAP side, that if there's anything in your company that someone else can do, they should be doing it. Okay. From a founder or leader or someone in that vision perspective, you need to be the niche of the company in establishing that vision, not working on it alone. That's not what we're saying. But your progress and the things that you do your focus should be on the things that only you can do. As a founder, your highest value usually sits, I would say, in three areas: setting direction, building key relationships, and solving strategic problems. I would say, the fourth one is to make sure there's a clear vision that collectively everyone's working towards the same vision. Don't need to micromanage the approach, the directions, and things to do it, but there needs to be like, that's the vision, collective reminder. Spoke about it in the previous question. So if your calendar, I would say, is filled up with operational tasks, especially the ones that other people can handle, right? You're probably limiting the company's growth because of your misdirection in yourself. Founders should spend most of their energy on leverage, because when a founder works on the wrong problems, because we like to think all problems are there for us to solve, wrong and right, but there's definitely wrong problems. If you focus on the wrong problems, the entire company slows down. So rather focus, rather remember this, that focus in the right areas multiplies your impact. So wherever you focus, that will multiply the impact that it's got. And then the last three questions: how do I make decisions when I don't feel spiritually certain? Faith is, I think, the biggest question we face with weekly. It's become like, I would say, a question I almost anticipate I'm going to get. We talked about it in home group last night. We talk about it here now. It's such a faith, accountability, ownership, stewardship is such a combined thing, especially for the entrepreneur in their business. Now, I did an amazing series that I think is valuable. I'm not going to say it's amazing, but did the research and work. It's over on our podcast channel, Not Yet Mature, where there's, I think it was a 3 series on doing business on God's blueprint. And it's not about, opening up a Hebrew store selling Christian coffee mugs and things like that. It's in any business, talking about the stewardship and ownership and responsibility, the weight that we carry, because God's got a calling in every single business, and especially for the entrepreneur, that calling to create. So one must be very mindful about the seriousness of this topic. So thank you for keeping it in. We do have a couple of more resources, and I hope that helps you. But expanding in the moment, off the cuff, for this question, I would say many people assume that faith-based decision-making always feels clear. It actually often doesn't, right? So sometimes the next step in business isn't that obvious. Even when you're praying and even when you're seeking wisdom, talking about our wisdom series, the next step isn't always that obvious. But that doesn't mean you're failing spiritually. Faith rarely removes uncertainty. Okay, it guides you how you move through it. In many cases, wisdom comes through principles rather than the supernatural clarity. So you look at integrity, you look at stewardship, responsibility, you look at the long-term impact. Then you make the best decision you can with the information you have, right? And you take action towards that, because faith is not the lack of action. It's not sitting there and trusting God will do the work. It's you do the work. You take that responsibility, that stewardship, that integrity, the long-term impact, and you do your part now, and you do it to excellence, to diligence, to that 1%, the best in your methods and ways that you can. And then you I won't say sit back, but then the outcome, you surrender to God. That's where the trust element comes in. Faith doesn't eliminate decision making. It shapes you, how you carry it, that decision making. But the decision making is you placed in that position. It needs to be yours. The last 2 questions: how do I stay grounded when my business starts succeeding? Bless you. First of all, no, you didn't sneeze, but this for me is a question that someone is obviously building a company on God's blueprint. It's now making a success. That success can be anything that I didn't mention. It can be amazing unlimited supply of customers, great demand over their stockpile that they have, huge revenues, huge profits, huge growth margins, new investors, everything. Success is defined differently, but success is still, in a business thing, a very tangible thing, right? So kudos for that. So I would say success can quietly distort your perspective and maybe your calling even, but it's not wrong to want success and to be successful. It's that balance of a faith-driven entrepreneur, for example, understanding that capitalism within business is actually very important for the kingdom to advance. So at first you might be grateful, then you're busy, and eventually, obviously, if you're not careful, success starts reinforcing your ego, and that's your red flag. Okay, the antidote is intentional humility, not modesty. Man, I said it so many times. And if you have no idea why I'm saying it or what I mean, reach out to me and say, Dion, what is your problem with modesty? I have major issues with modesty. I think it's such a deceitful way, giving credit to no one where credit is due. Honesty and humility is completely something else. In our minds, it's the same. When we're good at something and someone gives us praise, we say, oh, I'm not good at that. And you think you're being humble, you're being modest, you're being deceitful, and that glory should have been given to God or into the hard work the team gave in. And it's not about yourself. That's also a red flag. It's not about yourself. That's where the humility, the humble part comes in. But humility is not equals modesty. They don't equal one another. So take that humility into real perspective. Remember where the opportunity came from. That's how you lean into that unity. Where did this opportunity for this business came from? Remember the people who helped you along the way. Remember that success often includes timing. Success often includes relationships and circumstances beyond your control. So you can practice things like gratitude, accountability, and say generosity. Keep success in its proper place. It's a place for it, but keep it in its place. And pride quietly destroys good leadership. Humility protects success. So it's really a place of being humble and being, yeah. So the last question to answer, and this is off the cuff, then I'm just going to switch off. For here, please just subscribe to our channels, like it. It's not for to gain, anything else rather than just creating funnel and vessels for our wisdom, of nuggets of wisdom that we just want to push through to entrepreneurs. If you're an entrepreneur, business owner, founder, and there's questions that you're going to face, maybe directly, but definitely that's going to scratch the type of questions that we get in here. And it might not be relevant today, but if you know that you're an entrepreneur, know that you in the workplace, know you work in sales, save this type of content, save it for later, get in touch with us, be part of this journey. Thank you so much for being here today. And this is the last question. I'm going to then look at the comments if there's any comments, and then going to just wish you all of the best from there. So how do I honor God in business when the environment around me isn't? I think many Christian entrepreneurs expect the workplace to feel spiritually aligned. But often, honestly, even in my own company, it doesn't. God calls us into that work. He says to not be confined by this world, but it doesn't pull us out of this world. We have that place and position in the world. Our businesses serve and employ and care for the world. So it isn't always the spiritually aligned place. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't be focused on getting it there, but it isn't often like that. So you may work with people who don't share in your beliefs. You may work with people that doesn't share in your ethics or even your worldview. The temptation is to either withdraw or to become preachy, and both of them are temptation. But the most powerful witness in business is consistency, your light being consistent. I think we spoke about it a couple of weeks ago or in our wisdom series. If it's in our wisdom series, that answer definitely would have been up on our YouTube channel. Integrity in your decisions, fairness in how you treat people, excellence in how you serve clients. Those are the type of consistency that you definitely want. When people see someone operate with steady character over time, that builds the influence. Faith doesn't always need to be announced. Often it's demonstrated. And I think the best effective way is to demonstrate it. And sometimes the quiet example of integrity speaks louder than any speech ever could. I'm not saying you need to be purposefully silent, saying don't worry about articulation, shouting, anything. It's all about the consistency in your character, because that shines, right? Light, I've said it so many times, can say it now again in this closing argument, that light does not argue, light shines. So thank you for joining us Off the Cuff. Have a beautiful day, have a beautiful week, and we'll see you next time. Cheers. Arrivederci.